Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me. Today I'm continuing the sublimation series with some new products from Artesprix. Artesprix reached out to me and asked me if I would give their products a try, and actually if you've been with me for very long, a long time ago I did a video featuring the Artesprix markers, sublimation markers. I found these at Creativation a couple years ago. They are the original inventors and creators of sublimation ink in the form of a marker. And I did a video on these. We made a snowman koozie. It's been a couple years ago. But I thought it was such a cool and inventive idea. But now they've got a new product that is sublimation ink in the form of a stamp pad. That means you can use all of those stamps that you have in your stash, create a stamped image, and sublimate with it. You don't need a sublimation printer to have a sublimation result. So I'm going to walk you through how to make this coaster using their sublimation ink, their markers, and I'm going to use their new line of stamps. You can use your home stamps. You don't have to use their stamps. The only thing you need to be wary of is you can't use a traditional word stamp because of the way the process is done, and I'll explain that as we get into the video. But any of your image stamps you can use with their sublimation ink pad. So without further ado, let me flip around and I'm going to show you how all of this works. So I just want to walk you through some of the products that Artesprix sent me. They have a wide variety of sublimation products. They call it iron-on ink, but it is essentially a sublimation ink in the form of markers. They are the original creators of sublimation ink in a marker. They call it iron-on ink, and it works just like sublimation. You can write, draw, color, just like you would any marker, except for this is sublimation ink. So it's going to work with all of your sublimation blanks, your polyester blend, clothing items, mask, anything like that. You can use the sublimation markers, write freehand, draw freehand, use them, and they will work just like sublimation ink. They also have a variety of blanks. They sent me just a few. Here are some bookmarks. Here are some metal keychains. Here is a zipper pouch. Super cool. We're really excited about those. They have other blanks, but their products work with any sublimation blank. They have their own heat transfer tape. I love the fact that it's green and not that ugly brown that we're all used to. So they've got their own heat transfer tape. They have their own protective project mat. So you can use this to, with your Easy Press to press on. You can also use this as a cool down mat. Lots of uses for this. It's really nice. It's a really nice size. They have their own protective paper. This is what you call a blowout paper for sublimation. So when you're protecting your project, you want to make sure that you don't get ink on the back side of your shirt or on the top of your press or the bottom of your press. You're going to protect it with this, and they have really worked to create it's better than butcher paper and parchment paper. It's very environmentally safe. It doesn't give off any fumes, and they're really proud of their sublimation paper. The newest product to their line is the sublimation ink pad. This works just like a stamp pad, but it's full of sublimation ink. Now this one's in black. It's the only color it's currently available in, but it will be available in other colors very soon. But this works just like any stamp pad. So you can take one of your stamps, stamp it, and on a piece of paper, and then you're going to flip it over, and you can go ahead and heat press that into any sublimatable blank, just like any other sublimation print. So very cool. Now the fact that you're going to stamp it on paper and then flip it over, it's not going to work with your normal word stamps. Now here is a stamp from Stampin' Up. So the word stamps are generally mirrored so that when you stamp it down, it looks the right way, right? But because you're going to be stamping this on a piece of paper and then turning that paper over and applying it to your image, they have their own line of mirrored stamps. So it's actually going to look backward to what you're used to, but if you want words, it's going to be much easier to stamp it this way, as these will be backwards if you stamp them on paper and then stamp them on something. So if it's just an image, if you just had a picture of a snowman or just this mountains, it's not going to matter whether it's mirrored or not. So you could use your regular stamps that aren't words, but very fun stuff. So I'm going to show you how to use this system, the stamps, the ink pad, the acrylic block, and we're going to color in our image with some markers. So let me get things set up and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got everything laid out here, and all this is some regular copy paper. I've just got another piece underneath just to protect my tabletop. But I am using the markers. This one's out of this set. It's the primary set. All of these colors come in the primary set. This black one is from the black set. This is a pastel set. This is botanical set. And each set has different markers. There are no repeats in the sets. So if you're looking for a variety of colors, you want to check out the various sets based on your color choices. So they're all, if you get them all, you won't have any duplicates. This one does have 6 black. There's 2 round, 2 fine, and 2 chisel. All right. So like I said, their images are mirrored. So that is because we're going to stamp it on the paper, and then when we apply it to our coaster, which we're going to put it on this cork coaster. This is a sublimation coaster. So when you apply it to the coaster, it's going to be mirrored. So let me walk you through this. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our stamp pad, and it has this little plastic piece on it. You want to keep that. That's just going to help keep your stamp pad juicy. All right, now we're going to take our image and we need to arrange it. So I'm going to just kind of play with it for a second. I'm going to use this owl image, and I think I'm going to put him like maybe up, and then put 2020 Adventure. That's a good one, right? For this year. 2020 Adventure. And you can arrange this however you want. I'm just trying to get an idea for size. And then maybe I'll add the word 2020 Summer Adventure. So I'm going to cut this stamp in half. It says Camp Summer, but I only need the summer. So I'm going to cut that one in half. I know you guys all just... All right, so I'm thinking it's going to look something like this. All right, so I'm going to set it up on my stamp pad. Now their stamp pad has, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it has this grid. So it makes it very easy to keep things lined up straight. So I'm going to put the owl on here, and then summer right here. 2020 on this line. And adventure right there. Let's see if that's going to fit. It's a little bit. Let me pull the owl a little bit closer. It's got to be able to fit on the coaster. That looks good. I'm going to straighten this 20 up. Again, I love the fact that it has grid lines on it so that you can keep everything straight. So that looks like my image will fit. So I'm not going to stamp on the coaster. I'm going to stamp on the paper. So let's get it inked up. And like all sublimation ink, even when we use our printer, it doesn't look as dark when you stamp it, so be prepared for that. All right, so let's give it a stamp, and it doesn't have to be perfect on here. Give it a nice firm press. So there we have our stamped image. I'm just going to use a baby wipe and wipe this off. It will stain your stamps a little bit. Okay, so if you have any spots that don't look perfect, you can actually take one of your markers and just fix it. So you can see my stamped image. It looks okay. It's not the best in the West, and that's no fault of the stamp. So what I like to do is use a Misti, and it's just another way to stamp. So what I have here is just a template. This matches the size of the coaster, or you could just measure it, but I have this, so I'm just going to use it. And what I'm going to do is arrange the stamps the way that I want them to appear on the coaster. And what I like about this is it gives you a chance to do over, which if you're not an awesome stamper, you'll appreciate. So I can now lift up my stamps, and now they are on the lid. so I can ink up the stamps again. Cover my ink pen. Now I'm going to take my piece of copy paper that we're going to use to transfer. And I'm just going to center it here in the corner, put a magnet on it, and I'm going to stamp. So now when I lift it up, if I don't have a great stamp, and you can see I missed a part right there, it looks like I have a hair that got in the way. But it's no worries, I can just ink it up again. Just like that. Close the lid again, and it will re-stamp it in the exact same spot, so that if you have a spot that doesn't get great coverage, you have a do-over. And look at how well that looks now. So you can see I have a nice solid image. So I really like using the Misti for these images. Now that we have our image stamped, we can go ahead and color. If you're missing any areas, you can use your black marker and fill that in. I think I got it pretty good. And now you can color this however you want. I'm going to use the Artesprix, the primary markers, and then this is the black one from the black kit. But these are the primary colors. This is the pastel. This is the botanicals. You do want to make sure that you get any ink off of your hands, as it will transfer to the coaster when you transfer it. If it's on your hands and it gets on this paper, I'm going to have to trim that off up there. But I'm going to go ahead and give it a color really quickly. You can tell when you first use these markers, they're going to go on kind of dull, and that is completely normal. Actually, I think I'm going to stick a piece of paper underneath of here so I don't bleed through. But it's totally normal for them to be a little bit dull when you put them on, just like when you use the sublimation printer. The print starts out very dull, but once the heat hits it and activates that ink, everything will get vibrant. So I'm going to color this real quickly, and obviously I would take my time, but for the sake of the video, I'm just going to color this really quickly with the markers. I think it would be really fun to give this to the grandkids and let them color and draw some pictures and then transfer those to coasters. I think I could stamp some images. I have tons and tons of image stamps and flowers that they could color, and that would be a lot of fun. And just let them color like a coloring book, be educational, and then we could transfer them to a little bag for them, or we could transfer them to a coaster, whatever. And I would have some mementos of their drawing and coloring at this age. Really fun. I think it would be fun for a school project to have the kids color an image. You can use your Easy Press. You're going to use the settings and do everything exactly like you would as if you were doing infusible ink. So you can use the Easy Press. You don't have to have a heat press. I'm going to use the heat press, but I'm using the exact same settings as I would for the Easy Press. So I'm going to finish coloring this in, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have this all colored in. I'm just going to cut it down a little bit and cut off that edge where I have a little bit of ink smudge. I don't want that to transfer to my image. Just throw that away. Now I'm going to take my coaster and just wipe it off. You want a lint-free cloth. Just want to make sure that there's no lint and that you have an area ready for sublimating. So what we're going to do is put the coaster over the image face down. And I'm actually going to try to center it a little bit better. That looks good to me. So I'm going to use some of the Artesprix heat transfer tape and just tape this down. I'm trying not to tape where my coloring is. Probably wouldn't make a difference, but I'm just going to try to avoid that area, just to be safe since I can. If you are coloring edge to edge, I urge you to make your design a little bit bigger than your coaster so that it goes off the edge, so that you're not trying really hard to line it up. But since I have my image smaller than the coaster, I'm not really worried about it. All right, let me flip the camera around and we will go over to the heat press. Okay, so I have my coaster that we've taped down, and I've got a piece of the Artesprix paper, and I'm just going to sandwich it, the coaster, right in the middle of the paper. So I've got paper, my coaster, cork side down, and the paper on the top. We're going to put this in the heat press. I've got the paper side up. My design that I just colored is on the top of the sandwich, and we're going to press it 60 seconds at 400 degrees. Again, if you want to use the easy press instead of a heat press, you can follow the instructions for infusible ink and whatever substrate that you're using, whether it be a coaster or whatever you're using. Just use the exact same settings, and I believe it is 400 degrees at 60 seconds for the easy press too. Basically the exact same thing I'm doing, except for you're going to use the easy press. The other thing I want to tell you is I will have the heat press linked in the description below the video if you're interested in that, as well as all of the Artesprix products that we're using today. So I've put on my heat gloves. We've gone 60 seconds at 400 degrees. I'm going to grab my coaster and I'm going to set it over here on the project pad just to let it cool off for a minute. Now you can reuse this paper over and over as long as there's no ink on it. This one looks fine, so I'll just leave that up here for next time. I'm going to grab my coaster and we're just going to peel that image off. And you could reuse the image if you wanted. Didn't plan to reuse it, so I'm not being real careful about removing it, but if you wanted to reuse it, you could. Just keep in mind, usually the more you reuse them, the lighter your image is going to get. All right. So you can see there's my finished coaster. So as light as those colors were as I was coloring it, you can see how much more vibrant they are. So I think the Sublimation ink pad is a hit. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, I think it would be fun for the kids to stamp some images, let them color them, maybe write their names next to them, and then put it on a coaster for them, or put it on a bag or a backpack or any of your Sublimation blanks. The kids are going to go crazy for this. I am, again, not a great stamper, not a great colorer. That's not my field of expertise, but I love how simple this was, and this would be a great memento for just, you know, a little summer adventure that you went on with your friends. So super cute. Again, if you are interested in any of the Artesprix products, I will have them linked in the description below. It is an affiliate link, and it gives me a little bit of a commission, but no cost to you whatsoever, and I appreciate that. Thanks so much for watching this Sublimation series. I still have a couple more, and then we'll be wrapping it up, and I've got an embroidery project coming soon and a sewing one. So thanks so much for watching. See you guys. Bye-bye.